Hello and welcome to the Helios blog. My name is Helios. Today we're going to talk about duty sex. Time for a sad and uncomfortable topic today. I'm very sorry I have to write this, but betas need to hear it. You can't break free without knowing the truth of what happens in committed monogamous relationships. I know it's going to hurt. Sorry, I'm doing it anyway. Enjoying my content? Check out my blog at heliosblog.com. On YouTube, you can support me by liking and subscribing. I'm also on Spotify if you'd prefer a podcast. If you're interested in my books, The Strategist Guide to Seduction and Quotes to Live By, they're available on Amazon. In addition, you can follow me on Patreon at theheliosblog for exclusive content. On with the show. Alpha versus beta. Before we talk about duty sex, let me reiterate the concept of alpha versus beta. Women want to fuck alphas and do so out of instinct. They cannot control the feelings and give themselves freely. This is not the case for betas. When women fuck betas, it's often out of obligation. Obligation is not sexy. Most men in Western society are betas. This means that it's likely that a large proportion of men have never experienced the truly passionate, animalistic sex that women give alphas freely. This is a travesty and one of the reasons why I've written this blog. Why men get married? Men get married or get into committed monogamous relationships under the false impression that it will give them access to sex on tap. Obviously, living with your partner means that they're around more often, and therefore, there must be greater access to sex. Unfortunately, this is not true. Familiarity breeds contempt. When a man agrees to live with a woman, he removes all the mystery of their previous arrangement. The anxiety of whether he was seeing other girls disappears. As a result, the sex actually lessens over time when the man was expecting it to increase. A long-term relationship is simply a honey trap. Women lure men into them and don't give them at all what they expected. This is why men become miserable in marriages. Their expectation for frequency of sex are not met and in fact, over time decrease to near zero as inevitable betaization occurs. Why women get married? Women get married because once they're married, they're safe. For the next 20 years, all of their beta provisioning needs are now met. All of the worries about being able to raise children are gone. The only sacrifice is the man in the arrangement. The woman and children benefit at the expense of the man. Nowadays, more and more women understand exactly the position they've been put in by men marrying them. They use the fact that they can divorce him as leverage. As a result, women have extreme power in marriage through use of threat point, the idea that she could leave at any time, ripping his financial and emotional situation in half. In marriage, men are brought to their knees, forced to worship their new boss, who controls them through the government. The thrill is gone. When a woman knows she has a man by the balls in a marriage, she no longer has to fuck him to keep him around. He no longer has the luxury of going to other options when she pisses him off. He now has to tolerate her bad behavior or have his life ripped in half. Obviously, this change in power dynamics, where the woman reigns supreme, ruins her hypergamic instinct. She no longer feels she's with a superior man, she knows she's with a loser. Any man that would prostrate himself before her in such an arrangement must necessarily be a loser. She stops feeling passion for her husband and instead uses sex as a tool. She wields sex like a threat, using it to reward more and more submissive behaviors from a man, using his sex drive against him. This is so-called duty sex. This treatment over time wears down even the strongest of men. A man's desire to have sex being locked up through financial threat is the ridiculous result of modern marriage. It is no surprise that more and more men are checking out of this terrible deal. If you have to convince her, you're a beta. If you have to convince her logically to fuck you more, you're done. She no longer has the passion for you that's necessary in order for you to keep her around. She'll very likely cheat. You caused this problem yourself by allowing yourself to be monogamous. You should never have only one woman as your sole option. That means that opens you up to being controlled through your sex drive. Committed monogamous men are beta by design. Do not put yourself in that position. You are dooming yourself to a life of suffering. Ignore this warning at your peril. Monogamy is anti-seductive. As I said before, when you get into a monogamous arrangement, she knows she has you. As a result, she'll start to display more and more disrespectful behaviors. Where before you had the power to walk away to your other options when she showed you disrespect, you now have no ability to do anything. She knows for sure that you won't walk away, and so she'll begin to take her liberties. This is also why you never accept living with a woman. She will use it against you. Let her feel love while you keep the power for yourself. It's more important to hold the upper hand in a relationship than to feel love. When you have the ability to wield your options, the sex you receive and its passion will always be high. Women will fuck you just to convince you that they're better than your other options. They never are. The sexual benefit you get from having multiple partners far exceeds the amount of sex that one girl could ever give you. Don't get married. Unless you want to experience how it feels to have your balls in a vice, don't get married. No contacts within the government should exist in your relationships. She should have no power of law to wield over you. Do not cohabitate, do not get married. Women will wield their power over you shamelessly if you do. It is absolutely idiotic to enter into such a relationship. If your aim is to be a free man who gets to experience all the best of life, you should not get married. Better relationship arrangements for men. As I've stated numerous times, the best arrangements for men are non-monogamous ones. Friends with benefits, non-monogamous girlfriends, and serious non-monogamous girlfriends are the only relationship arrangements you should enter into. You should never enter into other ones. They simply shift the power balance too far in favor of women and allow them to control you in ways that make it too easy to be betaized. Once you allow the power to shift in her favor, rather than passionate alpha sex, you're getting once-in-a-while duty sex. It is a losing proposition. For those of you lamenting the loss of marriage, don't. Non-monogamous arrangements are as good as it gets for men. Conclusion. Duty sex is the result of being in long-term committed relationships. Women simply grow bored with their arrangement, understand that they're the leaders in their relationship, and take full advantage. Don't allow yourself to be the guy whose sex is doled out to as a reward for being a good boy. Prevent yourself from entering into these kinds of arrangements, and you'll prevent the problem of duty sex entirely. You shouldn't have to suffer in the long term to serve the matriarchy. Godspeed.